Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, my name is Rose Joki. I work as a business development manager here at Event Bank, and we are very happy to have you here with us today as we present today's topic on how you can bring your communities closer and how digital transformation can help bring us all together. So welcome you so much. We welcome you very much to this panel discussion. Thank you so much for creating the time. The presentation will take about an hour. So for now, I'll briefly take you through who we are. For those of you who don't know who we are, so I'll just share my screen. So a brief about us. So since Event Bank started in 2013, our mission has been to transform the way professional communities basically enable and enrich relationships. So our all-in-one platform enables your organizations to achieve this and so much more. So our platform has got various features: event management, membership management, email marketing, CRM, um, finance, and analytics. So two latest additions to the platform is the community engagement solution and also the webinar automation solution. So I'll briefly talk about the two. So on the community engagement solution, as the name suggests, it helps your community to engage with each other by sharing ideas, discussing on various topics, and especially staying social, especially now when meeting in person has become quite a challenge. So it basically enables your community to be able to also share business opportunities, to be able to network with each other, exchange opinions in both public and in private groups. They're able to exchange their digital business cards, network with everyone despite their location. They're also able to have one-on-one direct chat. So basically it's a solution that brings your community together, especially now in the age of social distancing, where probably we are having a challenge with having our events running for our members or having a very large number of people, a large number of groups meeting up. So having that one, that all-in-one, the all-in-one platforms, the community engagement basically just plugs into the platforms that is already existing to give you an edge in terms of how you're enabling your communities to engage and interact with each other. So the other solution that we have is the virtual webinar engagement solution that basically helps you to manage online webinars seamlessly from a central location. So this solution is able to help you to run your AGMs, council meetings, board meetings, committee meetings. Over and above that, you're able to also run your member events, your trainings, or any sort of engagement, online engagement that you're planning to have with your members. So it has additional features like having the business card exchange, the digital business card exchange as well. During the virtual webinar, you're able to have your members, your attendees are able to have access to documents, they're able to have chatting with each other. So basically enabling you to still seamlessly run your online meetings and make sure that even as we are in the age of this crisis, we are still maintaining the engagement and that business is still running continuously. So as you know, the world has changed this year. And while organizations could do without technology before the whole COVID pandemic, Now technology and digitization are a must-do that no organization can afford to ignore. So professional communities around the globe are struggling on how to provide value to their communities, especially in this time of social distancing. Now more than ever, it is important that members of a community come together, connect, and engage to help one another. So today, we are going to learn from some of Africa's highly regarded leaders in their spaces on how digital transformation can enable your community to thrive and become future ready. So we're going to meet the panel. So our interesting panel is comprised of Sue George, who is the operations manager at the South African affiliate for the International Association for Impact Assessment, Mpho Mamabolo, general manager at Africa Bio, Dr. Daniela Munene, the CEO at the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya, Jacob Mwangi, the CEO of Architectural Association of Kenya. And then I'm going to introduce, last but not least, Eric Schmidt, our CEO and co-founder at EventBank, who is going to moderate the session for us today. I hope you find it engaging, and of course we look forward to discussing with you after the event and see how we're able to engage further. So this session is being recorded, and you can actually drop your questions at the Q&A box at the bottom there in case you have any questions, even as we continue the discussions. So welcome, Eric.
Great, thank you, Rose. And like Rose mentioned, thanks everybody for joining us this afternoon, and also for our panelists who are joining us to have what hopes to be a great discussion on building communities across the continent. As we've all seen, things are a little bit more challenging in the current environment, and certainly with how people are thinking about building their organizations and growing them moving forward. So with that in mind, what I would like to be able to do is just go through our panelists here. If you could just give everybody a quick 1-minute introduction to your organization. And then secondly, on top of that, your definition of what building a community means to you. And we'll start in the order we have here. We'll let Sue jump in first, and then Daniela, Jacob, and Mpho. Welcome, Sue.
Thanks, Eric, and thank you for having us on this interactive webinar. I'm from RARA-SA, which is the International Association for Impact Assessment South Africa, and we have around about 1,000 members, most of whom are integrated environmental management professionals. So we're like-minded people, all looking to protect the environment and to foster sustainable development. And I think for us, community engagement is around getting people to collaborate about sustainable development and about being able to work through their processes properly, and to be able to engage with each other and just chat about what's going on in the industry, about policy making and the legislation that we have to abide by, and all those sorts of things. So hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely, welcome. Jacob, welcome.
I am Kenya. We have been around since 1967, so this is returning 53 this year. And we represent the built environment professionals in Kenya. The professions that we represent at AEK include architecture, quantity surveying, town planning, engineering, landscape architecture, environmental design, and construction project management. So it's a whole spectrum of the professions that are engaged in a typical project up there when it goes to comes to construction. I would say that our perception of a community of engagement is really active participation in activities of the association, because we are here to bring the members' interests and to protect and represent the interests of our members. And beyond just participation, but the active participation, people should be able to engage to make add some value to the activities of our association. That's actually what we look at as a community.
Jacob, how many members do you have?
We've got just about 2,500 members across
Great.
all the different professions that we have.
Absolutely. Great. Welcome. Daniela?
Thank you, Eric. So I'm from the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya. The Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya is a professional body of pharmacists, people who are registered to practice pharmacy in Kenya. So our mandate is to uphold ethics and the highest standards of pharmacy practice. We're not a regulator, but we work hand in hand with the regulator because we engage in self-regulation. Our mandate also includes educating the public about safe use of medicines. And we also advocate with government for better pharmaceutical policies in the health sector. So for us, community engagement is maybe threefold. Our first priority is to our own members, because we are mandated to help them do what we call CPD, as many associations do. And we have a lot of, before COVID, we had a lot of meetings. We worked through meetings with our members, educational meetings, meetings to do with the society and running of the society, elections, those kind of things. I would say the second community we engage with a lot is the public, in terms of just sending out those educational messages, sensitization messages around drugs. And perhaps our third community is the policy makers and government that create the policies in which we operate. Yeah.
Great. Well, welcome. And finally, Umpo.
First of all, thank you for inviting us to be part of the panel. I am with Africa Bio, and we are a biotechnology stakeholder association, and we stand for safe, ethical, and responsible research and development, as well as the application of biotechnology. And we, in 2018, we started what is called the Bio-Africa Convention. And that is where we bring together the biotechnology stakeholders on the continent. And the idea is that we foster collaboration in the different biotech communities. This is the researchers, industry, policymakers, the different government departments, and so on. A little bit, maybe just to say, like in Africa, the COVID pandemic clearly highlighted how the supply chains are weak. So now when your more developed countries start saying they cannot give you vaccines, or they cannot give you, or you cannot buy diagnostic devices, which are products of biotechnology, as a community, as an African community, biotechnology community, you start looking amongst yourself to say, how do we then ensure that we collaborate better so that we're able to fix all these supply chain breakages. So for us, building a community is having all these different biotech stakeholders coming together, or as well as the funders, of course, because in most cases you have somebody with an idea, and you bring in all of these different sectors together for them to collaborate, so that ultimately, as a continent, we can begin to develop some of these biotech products that we can then use for ourselves.
Great. Well, welcome. I guess we'll start, Jacob, with you. You know, our first question for the panel is really, as you look at the strategies that maybe you were implementing prior to COVID, in terms of really trying to bring this community together, get them engaged. What has changed, and how do you see your strategy shifting as you continue to look, forward from here?
I'm an active believer in the issue of technology. Initially, we had started in doing some automation of some of the essential functions of our association. I would say that even before this COVID situation came by, we had started this journey. We started doing having electronic platforms for some of the services that we provide to our members. And to do that, we were able to automate our membership management system. We are now automated our financial management system. We see those as a very essential infrastructure to build before you can now go onto the digital highway, so to speak, so that you're able to have the systems and solutions that will be able to guide you through the process. I would say that the COVID situation has sort of accelerated us into in this journey, because all of a sudden, within a few weeks, we were not able to do some of the things that we have been doing as an association. But luckily, we had that benefit of having started this journey with some of the solutions that we've already automated as an association. What I see in terms of the recent developments and situations that we've been facing is that we need to strengthen our strategic our objectives and focus on the use of technology to deliver services to our members. I say that because before this COVID situation, we've never had any virtual event, for example. And remember, as an association, like many other associations out there, we really do a lot of work and spend a lot of time and resources in managing events and holding events for members. So we had to quickly move from doing the manual and physical events to a virtual solution, which is fine, and I think that is a good way to go, starting in terms of transforming our solutions and our services into digital. As we all know, our human experiences, a lot of that is now going digital. The banking environment, for example, as they're delivering services digitally. We're going into health, even religion is being delivered digitally. And we see there's no way that you're going to remain if we don't go that way. So I think that we will need to strengthen our strategic focus on this to include some of the elements in the policies that we have that will enable us to deliver more and better services to our members. And this includes things like content, for example. We need to have a clear content strategy on how we deliver and package our messages to enable us to engage with our members. It includes things like, as I said, event is a typical electronic event management strategy, for example, that will enable us to shape the activities of an association going forward. Also, I see a thing that has come up in the recent past, just how we personalize the messages that we send out to our members. As we know, the internet nowadays is full of information, full of distractions out there. And if you don't package our messages properly, if you don't personalize our messages to the members, then we're likely to lose that. So those are the things that I see that we're going to strengthen as members of the association of the AAK. Thank you.
That's great, thank you. Daniela, can you give us a sense from your organization, how have things shifted and how are you all thinking about strategy?
Well, when the pandemic began, we panicked because, as Jacob said, a lot of our engagement is through meetings. That's how we work. We engage with our members all over the country through various meetings. And so we didn't know where we would go from there. And so we were sort of forced into thinking about this online space and digitizing our databases. Initially, we had a lot of, even though we were working from home, we had a lot of staff from the Secretariat always having to run to the office because a lot of our data was in physical files within the office. And so two ways is internally, we have started the digitization process of our own internal data sets and documents, so that we can, the staff can work from their homes and we can still get, something done. And that's a process that we're still going through, because then we started shopping for, finance management systems, CRMs and those kind of things. And where we could not make a huge investment, just using Excel and having shareable documents between the staff. So the second aspect of it is our engagement with our members then went online on digital platforms, and we didn't know how that would go, but we have had to be quite innovative. So all our, what we call our CMEs, the continuous medical education meetings have been online, and so we've learned things like, in an online meeting, you don't know who's just joining to get their CPD points or who's really engaged, like in a webinar like this. And so we've had to learn how to engage members in online meetings, like through polls or through allowing the listeners, to speak, and having a lot of interaction during the meeting, so that it's not that people are just showing up to get their CPD points. We've had to reach out to members. We relied on members walking into our office to sort out their various issues. They can't log on to their profile on our website, or they need to make their payment. So we had to make payments online or through mobile money. And we've had to do a lot of reaching out through the phone. And 4 months in, we're very pleasantly surprised that even though our membership engagement dipped in March and February, it's now back to baseline. It's back to normal. We can only go up from here. We have trained our membership to interact with us through our online platforms. They're paying their membership. Our only concern is, when this is over, will people still be willing to engage online because of all the investments we've made to interact digitally? I hope that can be continued afterwards.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to take a step backward after all the time and effort put into that.
Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely. Sue, let's head over to you and maybe just give us a sense of some of the strategies you all are putting in place, maybe thinking about moving forward and really trying to bring this community of folks together.
So yeah, South Africa is definitely a very face-to-face community, and all of our initiatives were based around our annual conference and our national meetings that we hold around the country. And all of a sudden, the shutters went down and we weren't able to be doing any of that anymore. So we were fortunate that our database and all our normal membership management strategies and that were within the digital space already. We already were running our event registrations through a digital platform, but we've had to extend that now and to try and figure out how we deliver the content that's so important to our members through the digital platforms. So we've been looking at options. We've had to investigate which kind of webinar platforms are the most suitable, the most affordable, and we've had to alter our budgets to accommodate those. All of a sudden, the people that organize our events are no longer looking for venues and the best catering. They're having to look for webinar platforms for people who are prepared to speak on webinar platforms, because that's a whole new skill. People are not accustomed to speaking into Norman Nowhere and not having an audience in front of them, clapping for them or giving them some feedback. So there's a whole bunch of upskilling that needs to be done in terms of our presenters, as well as our members, just to engage. Data in South Africa is not as stable as it is in other parts of the world, and I'm sure that applies to the rest of Africa as well. Some people don't have access to it because it's not as affordable as it could be. So that's been a challenge for us. We were already in our 2025 strategy planning, and all of a sudden one of the things that had to become cross-cutting in that planning was how are we going to digitize everything and upscale our digital strategy throughout the entire organization. So we've had some real challenges in that regard, but we're busy working through them. And I think one of the things that could be very exciting is the community engagement platform that EventBank has developed. And we're hoping to be taking that on board soon so that we've got an easier way of communicating with our integrated environmental management professional community. So yeah, it's been quite an interesting journey, and I think we've got a long way to go, and I'm very pleased to see that a lot of the things that the others are saying are resonating with exactly what's happening here. So yeah, thanks, Eric.
No, that's great. And certainly, you know, every organization has their own challenges from a digital perspective, but also communication perspective to really be able to find the right channels to touch people. And certainly no organization is alone in that battle. So absolutely understand. And Paul, for you all, obviously, you know, looking across, you're looking, you know, across the continent for the whole industry. How are you all trying to bring these people together? And, you know, maybe prior to this was the focus, you know, events, and now that has shifted a little bit. You know, how are you all thinking about that strategy of engagement moving forward?
Thank you, Eric. So for us, since 2018, we would gather these brilliant minds in Durban for a couple of days. And Durban is a beautiful city. The weather, you can almost bet on it. And that was 2018 and 2019. So now with COVID, some of us are losing out on that much needed free holiday. And we've had to now think what next. And we basically emulated what some of our sister organizations have, you know, the route that they have gone to, like Bio Europe as well as Bio USA. So they have gone digital, and we have followed suit. So the nature of our meetings are such that you have panel discussions as well as some of these interactive discussions. And some of these panel discussions, you have ministers and very high level delegates. The second aspect is that we have companies exhibiting their products. And we also have those companies that have interesting pipelines looking for investors. We give them an opportunity to pitch their ideas to investors. And we also have, we give our delegates an opportunity to interact with each other. You're able to see who is at the convention and request for a one-on-one meetings. And because all of that is not happening, we are really looking to take the entire suite digitally. So we are going ahead with a program as planned, and all of it will be presented digitally. And the advantage thereof now is that you're not restricted to the speakers that can take part, because now you can have absolutely everybody. In the past, if you wanted to have a certain high-level delegates, then they want you to get them a business, you know, for flying, you need to fly them business and put them in this very expensive hotel. But, you know, right now, you know, we just need them to sit at their chair and just log in. So it's an advantage in that sense. And the fact that right now, really everybody is accessible. As long as you can get them in the slot that you're looking for, we're not restricted. And one of the challenges we've had also is that some people would not have money to be able to travel to our convention. And now being you know, the convention moving digitally, people can join from wherever they are in the world, as long as you've got a connection. And also this, you know, it makes you think that perhaps we've limited ourselves to just the physical, to those that we physically can get to Durban every year. how do we moving forward continue to open this door so that people can still, even though they are not physically with us, they can still join from wherever they are. So for us, it's, you know, it's the having to work from or having to restrict our interaction has opened an opportunity where we have access to a much wider community. I think one thing though that we will miss, that we cannot replace, are the amazing functions that you'd have at the conventions. Unfortunately, nothing can make up for you know, for that party or that dance in the evening.
That is absolutely true. We haven't figured out how to do dancing online yet at events, but I'm sure it's coming. It's coming. Jacob, you know, one of the things you mentioned, and certainly I'm sure this is true for, you know, your community of folks, that, you know, as we look at geographic focus as it relates to online events and the way that people are trying to bring people together, how have you solved actually the challenge to that, which, you know, is actually the internet connectivity, depending on where somebody is across your country?
Well, I would say that from our side, we would have not had a challenge with that, because the demographic of our members is such that most of them are within this area we live in, Nairobi, in the major cities in this country. We've still got a few members out of the country in South Africa, in the United States and the UK. So that has not really been a challenge for us. But I would say that the benefit that we can get out of this situation that we have right now is to make it easier, just like what the previous two colleagues have said, to make it easier for people to participate. The challenge of the cost element of participating in a physical event, and even the typical logistics of just participating, moving from one part of town to the other, if you know Nairobi can be a challenge sometimes, has made it so much easier for us to engage with our members. Again, the other thing is that we are getting more and more active participation from our members and participants in our meetings and webinars. So those I see from our side, we've seen some serious benefits coming out of this situation. But I can say that Kenya has got a fairly robust information technology infrastructure that would support this kind of engagement going forward. Even if we were to go to other parts of the country, we would not have a challenge.
Yeah, we do have a question that's a follow-up, and I'll offer that to anybody here on the panel that is willing to jump in. In the rural communities and trying to engage with people who do live and work there, how do you solve that problem when it comes to that element of community engagement? Does everybody have any smart solutions that they have figured out as of yet? Anybody want to jump in on this one? Paul, go ahead.
So what we are looking at is engaging the community through radio stations. This is because biotechnology is such a complex subject, a subject matter, and you know, just getting people to understand what biotechnology is. I mean, if people don't, when you think vaccines, normally people think doctors. You don't really know what it takes to get to a point where a vaccine is made, or there's research, how it is made, how it is tested. Also, the diagnostic tests. There's a lot of scientists that do a lot of that work. And in most cases, we know that scientists like to lock themselves up in their laboratories. So we're trying to get to a point where we're recruiting some of these scientists to get onto radio stations and speak in the indigenous languages and explain the science in a message that, you know, in a way that can be understood by absolutely anybody. And I mean, being an association that advocates for safe and ethical, responsible and application of biotechnology, it is also our duty to educate the community. I'm not talking now the scientific community, I'm talking the child at school or that grandmother. What is a vaccine? What does it really do? I mean, especially you do have a lot of people that are anti-biotechnology, and it's up to us to rise up and to educate our communities on what it really means, what is biotechnology. So we think that going through the radio stations would help, but also the younger people when through social media to make the messaging in a way that would be easily understood by them. But then it's also interesting because you're bombarded all the time with highly scientific, technical material that people just read over, or it's just bad news all the way. You know, so many infections per day, so many mortalities a day. How do we make it interesting for them? Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, if you may allow me to add on to that, I think I would identify to what Mpho said, that reaching out to the rural communities is extremely important. I want to just give an example of an initiative we had about a month ago. We ordinarily would have a clinic, a public clinic, where we would talk to the public and explain to them the role of the architect and the engineer and so on and so forth. But this year we couldn't do that. Our physical event, we had to do it over the digital platforms. And I want to reiterate what Mpho said. It's important for us to break down the message to fit the audience. So we used social media, we used the vernacular radio stations in this country. And the angle that we took is about architecture for the small building, the small single dwelling unit that people want to construct in the rural areas. And with that, then you're able to pass the message and identify with the needs of the people out there. So that's what I just wanted to add on to that.
Eric?
Yeah.
So what we've been thinking of as well is the potential for using podcasts as well, so that people can listen to them while they are traveling. If they are, some of them still, for example, our consultants need to go out and do site work. Often the sites are far from their offices and those sorts of things, and they spend a lot of time in their vehicles where, you know, they could be listening to stuff rather than, for example, the radio. But I think also an interesting thing is to keep the communications short and sharp, you know, so that people get little takeaway messages regularly, rather than trying to have to sit through a whole symposium, for example, for a full morning or something like that, that they might not be able to do. So potentially we need to start breaking down our messaging more and looking at how we can get it out there in a more receivable way, you know, and anecdotal perhaps. So I think that might be something that we're needing to be looking at going forward in the digital era.
Yeah, breaking it down is a very important element to any communication in the digital world these days. That is absolutely true. All right, well, we have another question here. And the question is, in this new world that we live in, do associations see value in employing the service of PCOs for virtual events and hopefully hybrid events in the future? Go ahead, Daniela.
So that's something we've really been grappling with because organizing online events is a whole new arena. But the approach that we've taken in my society is we want to build our capacity first ourselves, try different platforms before going to get event organizers, just so that we go through a process of learning how different platforms work, because we're having to re-engineer everything, including the length of the sessions. So if we had a 3-day conference, morning to evening, we're thinking, okay, maybe we'll have our conference in 3-hour sessions for 1 week. So we want to test the waters first and learn the processes before we actually outsource some of these services.
Yeah, maybe you just touch upon that. So in terms of formats, how are you thinking about the format of these events to make sure that people are engaged and are still participating in what might have been, different things that you guys were doing?
So in terms of format, we typically have a lot of parallel sessions in our physical meetings. And now we're having whatever topics that would have been discussed in the parallel sessions, we're having them discussed in the main plenary. And so we're ending up having a lot more sessions over more days, just to keep that engagement going. And because we also, like the exhibition part, the expo part of a conference is also a major thing. And we feel like we've lost that bit. I see technology that allows you to have virtual exhibitions booths. We haven't got that far. So because we've lost that bit, so we prefer to have, say, the supporters of the event or the sponsors of the event having visibility in the main plenary. So we have way more little but more sessions, short but more sessions, to give visibility to our sponsors. So that's really how the structure of our big events is changing. I'm talking about conferences and mini conferences. So we are sort of stretching them out for more visibility of our partners. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else would like to take the PCO question?
Yes, I would agree that this is definitely need for PCOs. Our different organizations, associations usually have different formats for the events, but the objective is always the same. First of all, is to provide information and knowledge to the members and participants, and also to networking between the members themselves, and networking between the sponsors, as Daniela said, and the members that we have. So I think for us to deliver that, we need to have persons whose job is really to deliver these solutions that will meet the objectives of the conferences that we do have. I have, over the last few weeks, I've seen quite elaborate solutions out there that will probably provide some solutions to what we do as organizations. I've seen the virtual exhibitions that Daniela mentioned. I've seen virtual cocktails. It's all about how we can provide value to the supporters and sponsors of this organization and to the members that we have. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying for us, it's more moving, maybe, can I say, a hybrid method where, you don't need a PCO to arrange all those logistics around the venue and the dressing and all of that. But because we're more technical and we're more content focused, the putting together of the entire event, it's not really in our comfort zone. And we whilst we don't necessarily need somebody to to see to the running of the event, all those little elements on the running of the event, the technical staging of the event, so now the PCO, I'm now moving to more the technical staging of the event. How do you make sure that people sitting in different parts of the world are able to stream in and speak sequentially, and like basically what we're doing now. And when you're running parallel tracks, in instances where some of the ministers are not able to sit down, how do you then go in and get a pre-recording, stuff like that. So it's not only our business then that has changed. I guess even the business of the PCOs have changed, because they now have to, they are now having to evolve, because whatever package they were offering us, it is no longer, it's not relevant in the current environment. And I guess perhaps the next session that you host is how are PCOs evolving to be able to support events?
Eric, I think, and Paul put that really nicely. Well done, Paul. And I think that it is important for PCOs to basically change their skill set now. And it's like what we're having to do as well. But I think, you know, when I think of the associations around South Africa and the capacity that they would have to actually be technically competent to host webinars and to deliver electronic events and digital events, there certainly is a gap in the market where, you know, those skills can be developed. For example, I mean, just in this webinar, there's a whole lot of work going on in the background to actually deliver this effectively. And I think that's where the PCOs are going to be coming in to be able to provide that service and market that service to associations so that they can continue to concentrate on the content that they're delivering to their members.
I guess in this, you know, I sort of will, you know, ask it to anybody here, which is, you know, again, in a in-person world, people have figured out revenue models, they've figured out sponsorship value, they figured out how to drive revenue through those events. How are you all changing your way of thinking about potential revenue sources from these events, and have you figured out any models that have worked so far?
So, shall I go first?
Go ahead.
I think that that's a real worry for us, because what I have seen is some surveys from some of the associations trying to establish what the appetite is for delegates to actually pay for online events, because especially with it having happened as a result of COVID, there's been a lot of free stuff going on, and all sorts of people jumping in, you know, to offer these things to try and build some connection, etc. And now we have to pivot that and try and see how we can get it to an income generating thing again. So we have not yet come up with any solutions, and I'd love to hear what those are, but I think it is a real concern for the industry.
Sorry. I'll go first. Yeah. Okay. Please allow me. I would say that this is, I'll agree with Sue, that this is a matter of concern for all of us. That we have for years been able to run events, the physical events, and the traditional sponsorship models and networking models have been working for us, but things have changed. But also we look at the financial structure of a physical event versus a financial structure of a virtual event, completely different, because it costs quite some bit of money to host a physical event. Much as we are seeing that, of course, our member participants may want to get maybe free or maybe significantly reduce rates for participating. But you look at that, if you look at that vis-a-vis the cost structure that we have to go to deliver such events, then you also need to strike a very clear balance. On the sponsorship bit, I see that, yes, it's going to be a challenge, especially if you're looking at the smaller scale or smaller size sponsors that we've been having. In our events, for example, as an association, we've got some fairly small new startups that may not have the infrastructure to invest in such digital virtual events. If we are to go virtual, then our sponsors and exhibitors will have to spend some bit of money to build the infrastructure to be able to participate. So I see that as a challenge that we will have. It may not really affect the bigger organizations that are sponsors, the sponsors, because they already have this structure. They use that to market the products anyway. So I see that as things that need to be balanced, and see how, in fact, that's where even the PCOs can come in and see if they can deliver or produce solutions that will support the smaller scale and startups to participate in these events. On the bit of the participation levels, I think the content will matter this time, that you have to produce some high quality content that will attract people to pay some amount of money to participate in virtual events. That for me is what will make or break virtual events. Thank you.
Danielle?
Yeah, so it's been a very interesting journey of discovery for us, because we used to bank on the very big events like the annual conference that attracts the most number of members to attend as one of our biggest, the financial packages to sponsor that would be quite huge, and we would make most of our money from that. And now we're finding that the online conference, we have to structure the sponsorship packages downwards, because then the sponsor is losing that one-on-one interaction with the member, as opposed to the online platform. However, for the little meetings, because we have daily, weekly little meetings to discuss for 1 hour or 2 hours to discuss this topic or the other. And so before in the physical small meetings in each of our branches across the country, we wouldn't really target those meetings as income generating. And yet we're finding that our opportunity is now there. We feel like we're underselling ourselves for the small meetings, because now you cannot say you're having you're having a Nairobi branch meeting. Now you're actually offering the sponsor that anybody can join in. So every meeting that we host, we have people joining in from all over the country. So whereas in our minds, we thought these are just our little evening meetings where a sponsor can, would sponsor dinner or whatever. Now we're actually giving them an audience that is 10 times bigger, what they would have had in a, in a geographical location. And people are willing to log in almost every day after their working hours. And so we're finding that the sponsorship packages for the big event are shrinking, but we have an opportunity now. We feel we're underselling our what we thought were little events, because now they're attracting a lot of people. So I think that's how we are evolving in terms of rewriting those sponsorship packages. Over to you, Eric.
That's great to see. I know it is a challenge for many organizations, and obviously you guys have figured out the formula. So that's awesome. Umpo?
So for us, like I said before, we started in 2018, and in the 2019 event, we saw that we gained a significant momentum. And for us not to lose that, because you've packaged content that is really good, and we thought to limit it only to those that are paying would actually be a waste. And as financially painful as it was, we had to come to a decision that we will open it up as a free event. And we're fortunate to get the backing of government. They were able to provide us with some money to still be able to proceed with it. And that is because we are addressing or contributing towards the bioeconomy strategy of the South African bioeconomy strategy, as well as the bioeconomy strategy of the continent. So as such, somebody's not adhering to webinar rules. Sorry about that. So we managed to get some funding that will enable us to still build on the momentum that we have built, and hopefully then next year, when the situation changes, then we're able to get back and attract more sponsors. But for this year, definitely our pockets are not, we are feeling the pinch because we're not able to collect any registration fees.
Good. Well, sorry, my clock is going off behind me here, so you'll have to bear with me as it will ring 7 times as it's 7 a.m. here in Washington D.C. So, and actually on that same point, what I would like to point out. So actually, one of our clients, the Tempe Chamber of Commerce in Arizona, actually they've done a really good job at creating sponsorship packages for to shift into the digital world and really being able to provide that value. They've seen a huge uptick in the sponsorship dollars that went away from their bigger conferences and some of the forums that they were running to be able to facilitate the webinars that they were hosting. And it's been extremely successful. They probably have now 3 or 4 sponsors per event. And with that, they've been able to shift and continue the revenue that has sort of been derived from the digital world. So we've seen some good things happening, and hopefully everybody will continue to figure that out. So that being said, we did promise everybody that this would last for a half an hour. I do hope that everybody enjoyed the session. I thank everybody and certainly our speakers for participating this afternoon, and look forward to hopefully catching up with everybody there in Africa soon. So thank you, and appreciate your time.
Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and good to meet you, Sue and Mpo. And Eric as well. We haven't met before.
Lovely to meet you all.
Great.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.